Okay, so the topics that we want to discuss here is in Absalom and Achitophel. Those who are sitting here, you will see the reverse image. Yeah? So you have to see either in your mobile screen, so you can see proper, otherwise you won't be able to see proper screen. So the topics that I want to see is, for example, there are questions like what is satire, or what is allegory. The question says illustrate or exemplify from your reading of Absalom and Achitophel. Yes. I write here short forms A and A, but you are not supposed to write this in exam. Yeah? You have to write full spelling, Absalom and Achitophel. So don't go by for this chat language, A and A chat language. So, but you have to go by this A and A. We have a very interesting series ongoing, AK versus AK, which is now much talked about. This is A versus A. You can say Absalom and Achitophel. Okay? So, like satire or this, now we know, we already know what is in Absalom and Achitophel. Illustrations we are aware about. Yeah? Illustrations, we know how to make what illustrations are given, or what is an allegory, that also we have studied. But if there is a question, what is satire, then how will we write this answer, or how we will start our answer, from where we can pick up our source for this? Well, I would say that go for two sources. Two sources you identify. One is this M.H. Abraham's Glossary of Literary Terms. Yes, this book is a must book for everybody. Glossary of Literary Terms. A glossary of literary terms written by M.H. Abrahams. Okay. Glossary. Now there is 10th edition out of this book, and a must book for all literature students and teachers. There should always, like we have a dictionary for the spellings or meanings. The same way we keep this book very handy for literary terms. And another one, another website is Britannica. Britannica website. The links I will share later on through our website, material website. From these two sources, you can understand what is satire and what is an allegory. So your answer, when you write down, you can directly refer. You can also write that according to M.H. Abraham in a glossary of literary terms, or there is another book by Cadden also. So anyway, whichever book you, but name it. This, according to this, the meaning is this. So let us see, for example, if you are writing about satire, what is M.H. Abraham writing here about satire? And how far things are going quite well with our reading of Absalom and Achitophel. So we know it is a satire. Satire is a major theme also. So thematically also we have studied allegory, satire, and political satire. But now there is a special genre question. This is what we also call as genre study. Yeah? Genre study. Again reconnected. Yeah, so there is okay. Yeah? So yeah, okay. So genre poem, that is what there is lots of problem with this university network. So time and again it is going off and coming again. Yeah? So genre is poem. Yes, he told it is a poem. Any idea about the genre of this or not? Okay, but we say it is a satire. Yes, no doubt about it. It is an allegorical. There is no doubt about this also. It's a satirical poem. One can say it's a political satire. Also, we can say political satire. Yeah? That also we can see that it can be seen in that context also. Now, supposing I am writing an answer for what is satire. Now, this can be useful in when you study Jonathan Swift also, or any satirical work that you are studying. At all those times, this idea, this technique of writing answer, or this approach of writing an answer, or assignment, or making presentation anywhere, you can use this anywhere. There is concept. What is that concept about? Define it. Like, what is satire? Let me define. In another class, semester 4, we are doing, we are having one ELT paper, ELT and technology paper, and they are given some micro projects to write something on that, and then they would write a report also. Write a report. So report writing also they learn by that way. Now, in that we gave one example that see how Facebook has done something for education, and they have studied in 2 schools that how Facebook can be used for education, and then they have written a report. And in that report, we were discussing example that they are writing this question also. They are trying to explain this, that what is Facebook? Yeah? What is Facebook? Now, many of you might be using Facebook. If somebody is asking you this technical definition that define Facebook, then we don't have any words. We don't. The same is the case. We know what is satire, but if you have to sit down and write exactly in the terms, what is satire, what is an allegory, then we start fumbling for words. We do not find that. Then second one, what is your source of that definition? You say satire is this. What is your source? You say, I don't know the source. I know it is this. No, that way it will not work. It is not going to work in that way when you write assignment or your presentations or your answers in university. Very careful. 2 sources, at least refer to M.H. Abraham. It is an authentic book on literary terms. There are a couple of books. There are various books by Oxford also, Cambridge also. You can refer to any of this. Remember the name of the writer. Who is the writer? And by that way, you try to refer to this. Have you all got this book, M.H. Abraham's Glossary of Literary Terms? Have you got it? Okay, Khushbu, Kishan, you don't have it. Anybody online? Do you have the book? Glossary, okay. PDF copy I will upload on the website. PDF copy will be uploaded, so you download it from there. This, and even if you will find a PDF copy, but still share. If you find it, share with the students also, and we will put it on our website also, so you can easily download. But very handy, you have to keep it or in your mobile phone, and time and again, whenever you talk about genre of literature, go and see what is written in that book. Go and see at least this book, M.H. Abraham's Glossary of Literary Terms, what is written. That without failure, make a habit of referring. I say make a habit of referring. Yeah? So it is not that when I am in doubt, I will go there. No, don't go to Wikipedia first. Go to this book first. If this book has nothing to say, then only you go to another sources. So that way, this book is important for all literature students. So if by tonight, if it is not uploaded on our website, then remind me. Just put a reminder message. So I will upload this PDF copy, which everybody can download and keep in your mobile phones. Okay, so we are talking about writing an answer, assignment, presentations, and there is a simple thing like justify Absalom and Achitophel as a satire, or as a political satire, or justify as an allegory. We know what kind of allegory is that we have studied characters, events, places, lot many things. So no problem about it. We can do all those kinds of things there. But at the same time, if you have to write technical answers, then there should be a process or method. So your first paragraph should always talk about what do you understand by satire. So what is your definition of satire? For that, you have to depend upon some book. So let us see what M.H. Abraham is writing here. Okay? So satire can be described as the literary art of diminishing or derogating a subject by making it ridiculous and evoking toward it attitudes of amusement, contempt, scorn, or indignation. Yeah? If this is the beginning of what we mean by satire, then we say it is diminishing somebody's respect, it is derogatory, અપમાનજનક છે, ઉતારી પાડતું છે કોઈને, derogatory. It is ridiculing somebody, કોઈની મજાક ઉડાવવામાં આવે છે આની અંદર, ridiculing. It is evoking towards the attitude of amusement છે એમાં, કોઈ મારી મજાક ન થતી તો મારા માટે મજાક છે, મારા માટે એ amusement છે, અને મારી મજાક થતી હોય તો મને ધૃણા થાય, તો મને મારા ઉપર satire હોય તો it is contempt, contempt એટલે ધૃણા થાય, બીજા ઉપર હોય તો મને મજા આવે, then I enjoy. So that is how you see this. It is evokes laughter. It differs from the comic in that comedy evokes laughter mainly as an end in itself, while satire that is, it uses laughter as a weapon and against a butt that exists outside the work itself. So comedy and satire, second sentence tries to differentiate what is difference between comedy and satire. Well, satire is comedy, but comedy is not satire. Yes, comedy cannot be only satire. Comedy's objective is that people laugh. Even if a joke is made on me, I also laugh. That is a good comedy. That is a good comedy. But if somebody says a joke on me and I become angry, it is a satire. It is a satire. Others may laugh, but everybody may not laugh in that. There is indignation. There is a kind of a targeted person in that. Then it becomes a satire. So second point makes it clear. Satire is comedy, but all comedies are not satire. And that point, I think, is very clear, that comedy's aim is laughter for everybody. Satire's aim is to derogate somebody, to target somebody, to make fun of somebody also. The butt may be an individual, that is called personal satire, or type of person, a class, an institution, or nation, or even as in Earl of Rochester's The Satire Against Mankind in 1675, and much of Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels that was published in 1726, especially book number 4, The Entire Human Race. So the satire can be on individual person. So here in this, now once you start see that, well, your mind will start working, that this satire is obviously on individual people. That is Earl of Shaftesbury is there, is the target. Then Zimri, Shimei, all those characters are also under target here. So individual is there, but is it only individual? Is it only individual, or it also takes a larger number of people? Yes, you can say that it is Englishmen also, like all Jews. So all the English people, all the Catholics, anti-Catholics, all are taken into consideration in this satire. So it tells to the entire people that you all do not have common sense. It tells to the Englishmen, English people, that only thing that you lack is common sense, as simple as that. So that is a satire on English people also. And obviously satire on countries like France, Holland, in terms of Egypt, as we have seen in Allegory. So it is a satire on nations also. So you find that this is a wide-ranging satire. Dryden's is very wide-ranging, from an individual person to the entire group of people. Whigs, Tories, many people are also taken into target here. The distinction between the comic and the satire, however, is sharp only at its extremes. Shakespeare's Falstaff is mainly a comic creation presented primarily for our enjoyment, and puritanical Malvolio in Shakespeare's Twelfth Night is for the most part comic, but has aspects of satire directed against the type of the fatuous and hypocritical Puritan. Ben Jonson's Walpole, some of the examples are given, which also you can write. Ben Jonson's Walpole clearly satirizes the type of person whose cleverness or stupidity is put at the service of his cupidity. And John Dryden's MacFlecknoe, another very interesting work, MacFlecknoe, while representing a permanent type of the pretentious poetasters, satirizes specifically the living author Thomas Shadwell. So these are some of the examples that how all these satires they work. Then what is M.H. Abraham writing further? Writing further apart from, so it's a very good introductory paragraph we get from here to write, and we get illustrations and we can start writing. If it is short note, then this is enough. You can give some example this and then start illustrating that person this, people this, and those illustrations you can exemplify, and your answer can be good enough. Good enough. Some quotes you need to give. In our next class we will discuss some of the quotes from this poem. You can pick up, if you can remember, it is very good. Some lines, if you can remember, you can use the original lines also. Now, but if this is not a short note, and if it is a long answer, then you have to write something more. If it is a long answer, then you will have to write something more. So now see what is written more here. In discussing such writings of different kinds of satires, the following distinctions are useful, and says that critics make, this is called formal satire. There is formal satire. Then there is indirect satire. These 2 points is discussed by M.H. Abraham here. Formal satire and indirect satire. In formal satire, he says in formal satire, the satiric persona speaks out in the first person. This I in inverted comma may address either the reader, as in Pope's moral essays, or else a character within the work itself, who is called the adversarius, and whose major artistic function is to add credibility to the satiric speaker's comments. So this is I, first person speaking somewhere, the formal satire, and then it goes. In that there are two distinctions which are given here. What are these two distinctions? One is Horatian satire and another is Juvenalian satire. Horatian satire comes from Horace, Horatin, Horatin, Horatian satire. Juvenalian satire, Juvenalian, Juvenalian satire. There's two kinds of from that. Okay? In indirect satire, in the second part of the satire, M.H. Abraham writes, we have another form coming from two writers, that is Menippean satire and Varronian satire. Yes, Menippean satire and Varronian satire. Menippean, 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 Menippean satire, and Varronian, Varronian satire. Yes? So from this is how further satire is distinguished, and then we have to see now in all these categories, where do my satire fall? My satire means Absalom and Achitophel. Where do it fall? Well, it will have characteristics of all. It will have, it is not only like it is only Horatian or Varronian. No, it will have parts of all those kinds of things. So if it is a long answer, then I will say satire can be divided in these 4 categories, which are known by the well-known writers who were writing satires like Horatian, Juvenalian, Menippean or Varronian. And I will put individual satire here, the class satire here. Some satire will be very bitter, that I will put into this category. That way we can keep on exploring our answer there. Okay? So I hope this will help you to prepare your answer when you write about what is satire. In this way you can move on. For short note, how you design your answer, and for long answer, how can you design your answer. And after this distinction is clear, you just have to give illustrations from this poem, and you have enough illustrations about characters, about events, about places, about countries, about parties, many examples you already have that how those things are satirized. Allegorically they are satirized in this poem here. Okay, any questions here? If there is a question about satire, how are you going to write? That is what we have discussed here. Anybody, any question? Then we will see about allegory. Okay, so then we will see about allegory. Okay, same technique, answer writing technique, the same. First we question the concept allegory, and again we go to authentic sources. Authentic sources, not anything that website is giving us, but some authentic definitions of those concepts, and then we try to illustrate. So what is in the poem that you already know now? Allegory also, David, Egypt, Israel, Bible, that is all allegorical. But when you sit down to write your answer, this is how you will explore this. Okay? So as we suggested, go to M.H. Abraham's book and see what is given. That way you can start your answer when you write this answer, assignment, presentations, anything. Define the concept. Well, so if you see what is written in this book, a glossary of literary terms about allegory. Yeah? Well, an allegory is a narrative. An allegory is a narrative, whether in prose or verse, whether in prose or in verse. Yeah, ours is in verse. Yeah? Our poem is in here. When you will deal with Jonathan Swift, it will be in prose, in which the agents and actions, and sometimes the setting as well, agents, actions, as well as setting, are contrived by the author to make coherent sense on the literal, the word literal or primary level of significance, and at the same time to communicate a second correlated order of significance. So we can say that there are two levels, or you can say layers, where narrative is happening. Yeah? One we can say is literal, and the another one is metaphorical. Metaphorical, yes. Second one, literal and metaphorical. Literal means the first shallow level, that what the word means, that only. And metaphorical means there may be an implied meaning. Yes? Implied meaning of this, implied, not what is said. So if it says that, well, David was like this, we know that it is not about David. What is implied here is Charles II. Yes, Charles II is implied here. So when I say Absalom, it is not Absalom. Yeah, who is there? Who is there? Who is implied in Absalom? Yes.
James Scott.
No, Absalom.
James Scott.
Yeah, what is the name? James Scott. Yeah, James Scott. So that is implied. Yeah, so that is what we start reading. So at one level, the entire poem is about David, his illegitimate son, his wife Michal, and his counselor Achitophel, and other things. At another level, well, these people are not important for us. What is important is Charles II. It is important is James Scott, Earl of Shaftesbury, Popish plot, execute. That is important. So that is why this allegory is read. Yeah? Okay, we can distinguish two main types here. First is historical and political allegory. Yes, historical and first type. Yeah, historical and political allegory, in which the characters and actions that are signified literally in their turn represent or allegorize historical personages and events. And for this, the best example is Absalom and Achitophel. That is what even M.H. Abraham refers here. Yeah? So in John Dryden's Absalom and Achitophel, published in 1681, the biblical King David represents Charles II of England. Absalom represents his natural son, the Duke of Monmouth, natural but illegitimate, and the biblical story of Absalom's rebellion against his father. Yes? Allegorizes the rebellion of Monmouth against King Charles. So action, event is also allegorized. Event of rebellion is also allegorized in both the thing. When we say events, what is the major event which is allegorized? It is rebellion. Rebellion of son against father. Rebellion of son, illegitimate son against the father is the major event which is allegorized in both David's case as well as Charles II's case. The allegory of ideas in which the literal characters, this is second type. First is historical and political allegory, wherein we find an ample example. Second type is allegory of ideas, in which the literal characters represents concepts and plot, and the plot allegorizes an abstract doctrine or thesis. Both types of allegories may either be sustained throughout a work, as in Absalom and Achitophel and John Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress. Second type, allegory of idea, that also is found in this work. What is this idea? Idea is this, that when one should not rebel against the king, because king is chosen by God. There is divine right of the king. That idea is sustained in both the allegory. So this is allegory of idea also, apart from historical and political allegory. Second type, which M.H. Abraham mentions here, allegory of idea, that also is found in this work. Another equally important work written in the same time, during this time is, but not in our syllabus, but you can refer that, is John Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress. Okay, so that is how it says, and few more things are written from this book, which you can later on refer, but that is a main idea, that how allegorical imagery and then fable and parable are also used. But those things are not important for us. Fables or parables are also part of allegory, like Panchtantra stories. Panchtantra stories, we know that these are all fables. Aesop's fables, Panchtantra stories, animals are there. And animals speak. So we know that, well, animals don't talk. Animals do not have a language. They are allegorical representation of human beings or human nature. That's why we put a rabbit with lion, we put Luchu Siar, we put those things. So these are human attributions which are allegorized as different animals. But that is not important for us. If you are studying Animal Farm, I think you have studied Animal Farm, George Orwell's Animal Farm, that again is a political allegory also, where there is this fables also is important. So we have to go to that third layer of allegory also, that there are animals also there. But in our narrative, there are no animals. It's historical, political, and allegory of idea. And the idea is divine right of the king. This is again the central theme, which is represented at this level here. Okay, so that is the second point. Now, third and final point for today is about political allegory. If there is a question that political satire. So satire, and then what is political satire and how far it is concerned about this. You will not find that in this book. For political satire, you will have to refer to other source. And when I will share a couple of video links on my blog, where you can find the definition of political satire. You can also refer to Britannica or even to Wikipedia for that. But what you will find there is that it normally will speak about contemporary media, like cartoons, caricatures, news reporting. There normally political satire happens a lot. Literature nowadays is not much used as political satire. People, rather than, there is another form of literature, that is journalism and caricatures there. Though Hindi literature is very powerful in political satires. Most of the stand-up comedians, if you see, stand-up comedians, do you remember any stand-up comedians? Anybody? Any stand-up comedian, if you are watching?
Kapil Sharma.
I think, yeah, just a minute. Yes, who is there? Nandita Ba. Yes, what was that? Nandita Ba?
Kapil Sharma is a stand-up comedian.
Okay, Kapil Sharma show we can take, not exactly stand-up but comedy show, which tries to satirize on several kinds of things there. Yeah. Then recently there was a case against one stand-up comedian. Yes. Tarak Mehta, well, you can say it is a comedy, but not political satire. Tarak Mehta, Ulta Chashma. That's serial, you say? No, no, not that. Recently, one stand-up comedian was like imprisoned for something. Anybody?
Zakir, some, I don't remember the surname.
Bharti.
Bharti is also stand-up comedian. You can take her also. But okay, one who is captured. If you have a quick way of looking at internet, Google, and if you can find it.
I don't remember his name, but he was in the case of yeah, gods or something related to it.
Religious satire he also made.
Made religious satires on gods. That's
Yes,
why he was news.
on Hindu gods, so he was in the news. Yeah, who was he?
Yes, he made a joke of our gods and all those.
Yeah,
I don't
yes,
remember his name.
yeah. Okay, anybody can quickly Google and tell.
Kiku Sharda.
No, no.
Munawar Faruqi.
Yes, Munawar Faruqi. Yes,
Yes.
yes, Munawar Faruqi. Yes, Niyati also has put in the chat. Yeah, Munawar Faruqi. And many stand-up comedians were in some kinds of dispute because of political satires also, lots of political satire, and for that also, or even cartoonists were also in trouble there. So political satire is sometimes very cruel also, very abusing also to some people sometimes, and because they are of contemporary nature, it becomes troublesome to satirists. It time and again keeps on becoming troublesome to satirists. So what should satirists do? True literary artists who are not stand-up comedians, stand-up comedians and a true literary artist, there is a difference. They are very popular. Stand-up comedians are very popular. But well, to climb to the ladder of being a true literature, you have to do something else. You can remember this talk that you heard, many of you participated, Rais Maniar's talk, where he also says that he also goes to Mushaira to make some kind of funny poems to the people. People love to. So that is the level. And yesterday there was a talk between Ashok Chakradhar and Varun Grover. Have you heard the name Varun Grover? Varun Grover also is a very popular stand-up comedian. Varun Grover. Note down the name, Varun Grover. And because you are studying satires, you should listen to all these people. Because you are studying satire. So you should be aware about what kind of political satires happen nowadays and how they try to do those things. So Varun Grover is good because he also is one of the writers of Sacred Games. He was in the team of writers of Sacred Games also. So he is not mere stand-up comedian, but his satire is much better, much significant with literary value also. Ashok Chakradhar also Hindi literature. He also is a big name as a poet. But again, this poets always have this problem of being popular and going to Mushaira or to do stand-up comedy, which great literary writers will say that you are going to the cheapness. So that question also was asked to Ashok Chakradhar. Say that this, well, he said that there is money there. There is money. So sometimes you go for money. That literature is there. So he said, I started becoming popular from my college days. And so people kept on inviting me. And because before I realized that true literature is something else, I was already involved in those popular kind of things. And so he was doing. And then he says, even today, people invite, so he goes. But he understands the difference between great work of art and stand-up comedy, or a cheap political satire and a great work of art, which is political satire. Now, when I say great work of art, that is political satire, we have to always keep in mind that comedy is not considered as a great work of art as compared to tragedy. So it is always relative. And within comedy, when it comes comedy or satire, satire is inferior to comedy also. Satire is inferior to comedy also. So that way, if you see, then great work of arts are great tragedies. epic poems. And then there is another side which is not serious literature. Epic is a serious literature. So there is serious poems, lyrical ballads, elegies, odes, a lot many other ways, sonnets, serious literature. And then there is a funny literature, comedy, inferior to that. And within comedy, again, satire is again lower in category there. Okay? So even we say that there is a difference between stand-up comedy and a satire. Satire itself as a great work of art is far away from what is the canon. Whatever is the canon, it is still far away from that also. That is why this era, which has lots of religious problems, and people were taking sides of the religion of the power, or the power of the religion was overswaying during this time. No great work of art is coming. MacFlecknoe comes, or Absalom and Achitophel comes, or Pilgrim's Progress comes. They are like religious, pro-religion. And so the point that the great work of art will be anti-power. They will speak against the power of religion, the power of Raj Satta. They will speak against, and they will have deeper truths. Also. So this work of art obviously is, this time is not of great work of art. Dryden's time is not considered as time of great work of art. Within that, what he is doing with this political satire is that he is not remaining mere cheap writer. He is not a cheap writer like stand-up comedians, but he raises himself from that, and he becomes a great writer. And why that happens? Because he makes use of allegory in political satire. He makes use of allegory in political satire. So he is not directly referring to anybody. Any living human beings are not directly referred in satire or this political satire also. They all are implied. And that is the beauty of literature. That you make fun of all those people, and yet nobody can say that this is your fun. This is that person's fun. There was a small meme viral. हमણાં થોડા દિવસથી એક meme viral થયેલો. એક ગો એર નામની કંપની છે, એરોપ્લેન ફ્લાઇટ કંપની. એમના એક પાયલટને નોકરીમાંથી કાઢી મૂકવા, પાયલટ કે કોઈ કર્મચારીને નોકરીમાંથી બહાર કાઢી મૂકવામાં આવેલ છે. તો વોટ વોઝ, એનો શું વાંક હતો? તો કે એમણે એક એવો SMS કરેલો કે પ્રાઇમ મિનિસ્ટર ઇઝ સ્ટુપિડ. એટલે પ્રાઇમ મિનિસ્ટર બહુ ખરાબ, એવી કોઈ ખરાબ ભાષામાં પ્રાઇમ મિનિસ્ટર ઉપર એમણે એક કટાક્ષ કરેલો હતો. એટલે because of this you are removed out of the job. So he tells in his defense, but why do you remove me? So he said that you said something about India's prime minister Narendra Modi, but he says no, I have not said that. I just told PM is idiot, PM is stupid. He said, so the other people say that हमने खबर नहीं हुई कि कौन idiot. He says no, I said Boris Johnson. He said no, we know who is idiot. So there is a satire. There is an indirect satire in that when people refer to that. So that is how indirectly, you don't refer any name. That is literary quality. When people have to name it, then that work of art is diminished. A good stand-up comedian also implies many things. They don't say, they don't speak, and it is implied. That is what we have said. Implied, metaphorical, literary use of language, and that we find in this. So this political satire, as we know now, all the characters which are connected with the real life characters. But when this work was released, when this book was released, people for people it was a puzzle. That who is referred as what, who is at what. Like David is Charles, we can understand. Absalom, you can understand. But there were so many minor characters also. So people were having lots of debate and talk. And that's why this book was sold like anything. You know, those were not the days of mobile phone, like people can make a photocopy and share with everybody. People have to purchase the copy. They have to purchase. Those were not the days of photocopy machine also. કે એક સારી બુક હાથમાં આવે તો આપણે ફોટોકોપી કરીને 10 ને વેચી દઈએ, અથવા હવે તો ફોટો પાડીને ફોરવર્ડ કરી દઈએ. લેખક ભલે રાહ જોવે કે કોઈ લેવા આવે તો મને થોડા ફદિયા મળે, પણ લેખકને કાંઈ ન મળે. આપણે તો ફટાફટ પાયરસી કરવાના કામે લાગી, અને આપણને ખબર પણ ન હોય કે આ બધું ખોટું કહેવાય. આપણને ખ્યાલ પણ ન હોય કે આ બધું ખોટું કહેવાય. ઓરિજિનલ બુક તરફ લોકોને લઈ જવા જોઈએ કે આ ખરીદો. અને લોકો વાંચે. But those days people, there were no other means of piracy or spreading, so they will, so book આવે એટલે તરત ચપોચપ વેચાઈ જાય. It used to, and people were much in demand for this book. આ bookની demand એટલે ખૂબ. So but no direct reference, એટલે કોઈ ટ્રાઇડન્ટની ઉપર કેસ પણ ન કરી શકે. તો કે હું તો ઇજિપ્તની વાત કરું છું, ઇઝરાયલની વાત કરું છું, હું ક્યાં કહું છું કે આ તમે છો? તમને એવું લાગે છે કે તમે આવા છો? પ્રાઇમ મિનિસ્ટર આવા છે તમને એવું લાગે છે? હું તો નથી કહેતો, હું તો બોરિસ જોન્સન નું કહું છું. યુકેના પ્રાઇમ મિનિસ્ટર સ્ટુપિડ ઇડિયટ છે, તમે કેમ માની લીધા કે હું આની વાત કરું છું? So that is how you can escape easily. So Dryden's that was we can say, now we use the word master stroke. So that was the master stroke of this allegory or this political satire, that there is no direct reference to anybody. People were puzzled and book was very popular. ચપોચપ વેચાઈ જતી હતી. Some people say ચાર્લ્સે જ કહેલું હતું ડ્રાઇડનને કે તું કંઈક આવું લખ, એટલે એમનું કહ્યું માનીને એની ફેવરમાં એક આખો કેસ ઉભો કરેલો. And it became so popular. When you say political satire, what is the real life influence of this work in the politics of the day? That is very important question that you can still address or you can answer here. What is the real life influence of this work of art in the politics of the day? Well, it really made King's case more stronger. King's case became much stronger after this work of art. People realized, because people also were addressed, that don't be fooled, don't be like Jews. કાચા કાનના ન રહો, તમે સમજો કંઈક. આપણે જો થોડા વર્ષો પહેલા આવો જ બળવો કરી એક રાજાને આપણે મારી નાખેલો, અને પછી ઓલિવર ક્રોમવેલ, પછી આપણે થાકી ગયા હતા, ફરી પાછા આપણે રાજાને લઈ આવ્યા છે. ફરી પાછી એ ભૂલ કરવી છે કે ફરી પાછી આ ભૂલ, એટલે રાજાની ફેવરમાં એમણે એક આખો માહોલ બનાવી દે છે આ વર્ક ઓફ આર્ટ. અને શાફ્ટ્સબરી સામે કેસ થતો હતો તો એનો કેસ નબળો પડી જાય છે, અને એની સામેનો કેસ બહુ મજબૂત. એટલે પોલિટિકલી પણ this was having a strong influence on the life of the people. That is very important. Political satire, a work of art. But what is the influence of that work of art in the politics of the day? This work of art has a tremendous influence in the minds of the people of the day. And so it made the case of Charles II much stronger there. Absalom, who was obviously much deserving, much loved by the people, but then people started looking in a different way towards Absalom also after this work of art. At the same time, this point also is important, that after so many years, after 30-40 years, when Samuel Johnson is to come or replace Dryden as a great figure of literature, and when he is going to write about life of Dryden, or he was writing about lot many writers, lives of the poets. You might have studied that work also, Samuel Johnson's Lives of the Poets, yes, at your UG level. So then when he is writing this, he again refers back that his father was a bookseller. Samuel Johnson's father was a bookseller, and he was not having a good regard for this book. His father, he knows that the book was selling very fast. Book ચપોચપ વેચાઈ જતી હતી, પણ એમના ફાધરને એક ગ્લાની રહેતી કે આવું સાહિત્ય આપણો સમયનું સાહિત્ય છે, આ સાહિત્ય આપણો સમયનું સાહિત્ય, તો આપણો સમય કેટલો ખરાબ કહેવાય. આ સાહિત્ય પાછળ લોકો ગાંડા થાય છે, તો આ લોકોને શું સમજવા આપણે? આ પ્રજા પણ કયા પ્રકારની છે કે આ પ્રકારના સાહિત્યને પ્રોત્સાહન આપે છે. This were the remarks of Samuel Johnson's father, which he remembers, and he also, that's why, notes this, that well, Dryden may have a spark to be a good literary writer, but then the time was terrible, audience was terrible, it was not understanding quality work. So you start catering, તમે પછી એ પીરસવા મંડો જે ઓડિયન્સને ભાવતું હોય, ઓડિયન્સને જે પસંદ હોય એ તમે પીરસો, અને પછી બધું ચીપ પ્રકારનું જ આવતું છે. As we are talking કે બે ફિલ્મો રિલીઝ થાય, આર્ટિકલ 15 અને કબીર સિંહ, અને બધા લોકો ટોળે ટોળા કબીર સિંહ તરફ જાય, આર્ટિકલ 15 જોવા ન જાય, તો કાલે ફિલ્મ મેકર કઈ ફિલ્મ બનાવશે? કે છે કે ચલો આવો જ કચરો આપો, આ બધાને કચરો જ જોઈએ છે તો કચરો જ બનાવીએ આપણે, શું કામ સારી ફિલ્મ બનાવી? Why? Because audiences, and that, so popular cinema, popular web series, popular television series also talks about the people, the audience with whom we are living, જેની સાથે આપણે રહીએ છીએ. એનો લિટરરી ટેસ્ટ કેવો છે? બહુ ઉતરતી કક્ષાનો હોય તો આપણે બધાએ એવું જ સાહિત્ય સહન કરવું પડે, બધાએ એ સાહિત્ય સહન. That was how Dryden, with a spark of a great writer, he produces what audience wants. And Samuel Johnson's reference also is very important for this. Okay, so satire, allegory, and political satire. Three questions we have discussed. I hope this will make the points very clear for all of you, that how to explore this and how to write answers when you have to sit down to discuss this. Okay, any questions? Anybody in this regard? Yes, anybody? If you have any questions, you can ask. Yeah. Okay, so then is it okay? This is, I will share the list of questions. Today, download the list of questions from the website. Today by evening, it will be uploaded. So don't fail to download that list of questions. Tomorrow, we will discuss original poem, important parts of the original poem that we will read. So keep handy original poem with you. Keep the original poem handy with you, that we will try to study and go through all the questions. In any of the questions, if you have any doubt what to write, how to write, be ready with your questions. Okay, so I think tomorrow and day after tomorrow, in 2 days, I think we will end the discussion of Absalom and Achitophel. But original poem is what we will discuss now tomorrow, for illustrations to write for all kinds of answers. Various illustrations which you can pick up to write all kinds of answers there. Okay, so we end our class today here. Okay.